What if you were the living embodiment of all pervasive peace? What if all sentient beings all around you increase their vibration towards harmony by merely being in your contact? What if, through conscious reasoning, focused will, and intentional living, you reform yourself, thereby becoming a catalyst in sparking transformation in others? I'm Shilpa Lewis, meditation, mindset, and mindfulness coach for midlife mompreneurs, and you are listening to Omnipresent Awareness, the podcast that will inspire you to use your story to serve humanity in not just healing, but thriving as souls, each fulfilling their highest purpose. Namaste. Thanks for tuning in to Omnipresent Awareness. This is your host, Shilpa Lewis, and welcome back. Okay, so I'm running a little challenge as I'm trying to get more people to discover this podcast and the conversations that inspire those who value personal growth. And the best way to do that is to leave reviews. You can leave a review on Spotify, Google Podcast, or Apple Podcast. So here's a little request from me to you. If you feel like you have received any value at all from these episodes, then please write a little review and take a screenshot of your review. Once you've done that, email that screenshot to me at omnimindfulness@gmail.com. Once I get your screenshot, you will receive one of my infographics. Spark your meditation practice through Sankalpa. Sankalpa is the Sanskrit word for intention setting. Along with this, you'll receive a link to my guided meditation where you can daily practice intention setting with some inspirational music and breath work. This infographic, along with the guided meditation, is guaranteed to have you start your practice for meditation with a spark. It is my gift for you for being a listener, being a supporter, and of course for you to be able to manifest the best meditation practice. So thank you for showing up, listening, and being inspired, and most importantly, taking action. I appreciate you. So again, please don't forget to take a screenshot of your review and send it to omnimindfulness@gmail.com, and I will send you that infographic and the link to the guided meditation. And now, a conversation recorded with my partner in awareness, Tanya, from our joint podcast, Mindful Mompreneur Moments. And oh yeah, if you could, please listen to the very end of the podcast for powerful insights from our guest. Thank you. Next up, Magda Lozado Morales, founder of MLM Brand, the modern mom fashion brand. Magda lives in Los Angeles with her husband and 2 boys. A political scientist, researcher turned entrepreneur and fashion designer, Magda decided to pause her career and focus on her young family while she was trying to launch an apparel brand when her second son was born in 2017. She always loved fashion, but she never imagined this passion would lead her away from her career in research to designing breastfeeding-friendly dresses. Magda cares deeply about our environment, sustainability, and minimal waste among her brand's core values. She is also passionate about improving family policies, elevating the voices of women, and advocating for women in the workplace. Stay tuned and listen to Magda's story. Greetings, Magda.
Hi, Tanya. Hi, Shilpa.
Hello, thank you for being with us.
So we're going to jump right in, and we are going to ask you the first question is, what is your backstory, Magda? Where did you get started? And any highlights of your journey? And then I have a little follow-up question with that.
Okay, sure. Yes, hi, everyone. My name is Magda Lozado Morales. I am a Polish transplant currently living in Los Angeles. I have 2 little boys. They are 4 and 7. And Currently, I am creating a maternity fashion brand for moms who choose to breastfeed or express milk for their children. And it's been, as we, said before, it's been a labor of love. I've had this idea. I've, played with the idea of doing something that would give me a little bit more flexibility to be there for my young family, while also having a husband with a demanding career. I didn't want my children to, not have both parents present most of the time. So I had a few ideas, and ultimately my journey took me to this decision to start designing breastfeeding and pumping friendly dresses. So when you look sort of at my website, and you'll see 3 designs, and it's all true. We only have 3 designs. I'm going very slowly at my own pace, bootstrapping everything. But I've been in business for about 2.5 years, and it's been a great experience. I always, even though there was a ton of up and downs, I've learned so much, even about myself and how to handle difficult situations. I'll give you an example. Very recently, it's just so common in the fashion industry when you're trying to have a factory manufacture your design. And there are horror stories about the factories not doing a good job, or just putting a zipper in front where it should go in the back, or doing some crazy mistakes that for small businesses like mine, where I bootstrap everything, so every $100 counts, is a big deal. But for example, recently I had a situation where the factory said we shipped all the fabric, we shipped all the trims, patterns to them in Chicago, and they saw the pattern. They said, well, we don't have the machines to basically make your garments. And that's something, yes, that's something, if that happened to me 2 years ago, I would lose my mind. It would take me a lot of inner work to be like, not take it personally. It's not your fault. Let's calm down, and try to find a solution. That was Magda, 2-3 years ago, because I just wanted to get it done, get there, be successful, whatever success meant to me or means today. But I sure didn't want to deal with any, challenges and any setbacks like that. Well, this time it happened to me a couple of months ago. It honestly, like, it didn't even bother me. It was just like one more thing to do. Yeah, it's sure, I was like, oh, well, that's gonna add a few weeks to our production timeline, which means the design won't be available for purchase for probably another 4 to 6 weeks. So yeah, I saw that, kind of a matter of fact, but it didn't bother me or didn't anger me the way it would in the past. So I think that's that's one of the things that I've learned on this journey. Just kind of pivot and not take things personally. And I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, that's
I
sorry.
just,
Yeah, go ahead.
I just love hearing your journey. And along the way, it sounds like you've also learned about also tapping into your own kind of mindfulness about your reaction.
Yeah. So I've been meditating, let's see, almost 3 years, I think, 2 or 3 years. I'm trying to remember. But at one point, I became a mom, first time mom, then I had a second child. My husband was still doing his demanding career, and I felt like I kind of lost control of myself. Like I all of a sudden I felt like I was this angry, overwhelmed, overtired person. And Yeah, I am, on the anxious type A side, but a lot of people are. But I felt like it really was. I didn't like myself. I didn't like myself. I didn't have a whole ton of choices in terms of self care and kind of doing all the things that people tell you without mentioning that you also for that need to have for a lot of these things you need to have a babysitter or financial resources or someone to take care of your kids while you go out for that walk, right? um, so I found my way into meditation, and yeah, I find it very, very helpful. I just use the app that's called Calm, and I feel like the topics that they, talk, I do the 10-minute daily meditation, and most of these topics resonate with me, how to, get closure from a situation and move forward. How not to dwell on the past, things like that. Like, I'm sure I say it like it's like, a wow moment, but I'm sure a lot of people resonate with that because we all deal with similar things, right?
I'm smiling ear to ear
Yeah.
because everything you're saying resonates so deeply with me, including like I'm literally breastfeeding as we're on this.
Yes, I
on
was
this
going
call.
to say.
So
Yes.
immediately, just the fact that your whole business is around helping women who breastfeed feeling just beautiful in what they're wearing while they breastfeed, that resonates so deeply. And the fact that you said you can even stand yourself, because I could so see that's one of the things that I share as my story as why I got into meditation and stuff. Like, I couldn't stand myself. I was just always irritated. The hustle and bustle of 9 to 5 is just so like irritating. You get home, you have to cook, you have to, mommy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Second shift, as a matter, I mean, everything you say, I think that's why it's so important. It might seem like it's such a like simple day in a mom's life, in a woman's life, but I feel like we all go through that, and we're so hard on yourselves for losing our patience. But I was telling my son yesterday, I get frustrated with them because everybody just got home, and my kids are older now, so they're at school. On a good day, they're at school from 8 to 3, and so I have the time to work on my business. But I work, like, I am very productive. I do things all the time, and so and I miss my kids. Then when it's time to pick them up, I miss them. I'm so happy to see them. But what is the first thing they do when they get home? They start fighting. And it's like, okay, so yesterday what happened, I quick, they got home. I was quickly trying to make a shopping list for a virtual baking night for my son's preschool. So I was sitting there in the corner trying to, like, okay, red food coloring, 2 cups of white chocolate chips, and they're fighting, right? So my anxiety is rising because I'm trying to, I switched from work mode to mommy mode without taking a breath, without, like, kind of acknowledging, like, now, I went straight into my second job, right? To your point, like, there's very little break. And so then I had to go back. And so I was unpleasant to my son. I said, guys, you have to stop fighting about having these like petty arguments about, where the iPad is going to be standing while you're like watching something, because it's silly stuff like that. And I should have patience for it, but I didn't give myself that time and that break to switch from work mode. I went from like work mode to the mommy work mode, and that wasn't right. So I was trying to explain it to him that, like, I'm an adult. I should have taken a breath and, a deep breath, and should have like walked away. And you could see like how grateful he was that here I am, like, I am his mommy. Like, I tell him what to do all the time, but I also say sorry because I screwed up. I'm still learning along the way with him. And I feel like, I wish I didn't lose my patience. I wish I already knew how to control my temper all the time, but I didn't. I think that after, what we do after, a situation like this, it's also valuable.
That is so, such a beautiful insight for our listeners, because it's so like the John Kabat-Zinn, I believe is the one who always says, begin again. Like whatever happens, just begin again. And the fact that you have the awareness to know that, okay, they're 8, they're 9, they're, or they're a child, they don't really understand. They're not developed enough to understand that they're not supposed to be fighting over an iPad and TV,
Yeah.
You have the awareness to come back and say, you know what, I'm sorry, I lost my, it's a beautiful.
And, I think it comes with time. And, I also learned from my husband. I ask him sometimes, like, you just, you're not here. And then you lost your patience with your son. Like, how do you sleep at night? Because I didn't mean it like that. I meant more, do you feel guilty about it? And if you don't, what's the process? What's the thought process behind it to get you from that? Well, gee, like I just like yelled at my kid, but I think it's what you said, every day you get to start over, and you get another, chance to make it better. And I think as long as we're trying to be our best, it's good enough. I don't want my kids to think that I never make mistakes. I make mistakes. And I think it also teaches the kids, like, we all make mistakes. Yes. Now with their mistakes, it's more, like, I don't know, maybe pushing a friend that was like cutting the line in front of them, or, not getting all the spelling words on the spelling test. It's not, we're all going to make mistakes. How can I do better next time? Right?
Absolutely. So you've described a little bit about what your business is. What would you say would classify this as your second act?
Because I would say, and I don't know if it's my second, if it is my second act. I don't know if it's my last act, if it's, sort of a segue into something that's, out there for me, that I might have a vague idea of what it might be. I know what I'm passionate about, but I don't know. Right now I'm in my second act. And what I mean is that by that is that, my whole life, I thought I would be a politician. I grew up in Poland, and my family was always involved in local politics, and, the voting, the issues that concern our community. Like, I remember, my parents being involved in an initiative where we had recycling bins, actually brought to our neighborhood in Poland. And it was just so exciting. I've always seen the power of community and what can happen at the local level of politics. I didn't know how how negative it can be. I don't want to dwell really on that, because I think that that's not the point. I think there's a lot of power in the communities, and there's a lot of change that can happen at the local level, right? So I've always wanted to be in politics, and I went into political science, and I loved history. I loved all the social studies. I wanted to be a local politician. And then, life kind of had other plans, because it brought me over to the United States. And I think one of the key elements, to be a successful, political activist or politician, is that you have to be known and active in your community. Well, I found myself here in the US, and I didn't know anybody. I sure didn't grow up here. So I was like, I don't know that that's still something that I see myself doing. And then there was also, I didn't speak, my English wasn't so good. I had insecurities around that for the longest time. I mean, I remember my public speaking class that we had to take in college. That was like the most stressful thing in the world. But, I'm obviously not there anymore. And so along the way, I did finish my political science degree, and I even went on to grad school. But I lost the passion, I didn't see how a girl from, Poland could find a place in American politics, even at the local level, right? I didn't have the connections. I didn't have, you know, I think there's a lot of things that you need to do. You have to know a lot about local politics. I didn't. Politics here is very different. So
You would have done great, by the way.
I think, you know, I will tell you how I can see the circle closing in a little bit, you know, at the moment. So I finished my degrees and ended up working in survey research, because along the way, as I found myself not so confident about, you know, becoming a local politician in the US, I took classes in business and statistics in more quantitative sort of research. So then I ended up getting a job in survey research, and I worked for about 8 years before I decided that, you know, corporate America wasn't for me and for my young family. And that's when I started MLM brand. So that's how I see that, you know, what I'm doing right now is my second act. And let me just, you know, tell you where I see maybe the circle, you know, my like two paths sort of merging together, because I'm also very passionate about paid leave and supporting parents in workplaces. I think you being in Canada, you're probably just like scoffing at what we do in this country all the time, because
I can't even, this is a conversation that on its own,
yes,
like for days, I can't even understand it.
Yes. Topic. We might even need to have a separate podcast just on this, because I know someone who works in politics. She was one of our guests, and she would be so passionate about this. But just to interject, this is a big
yes. Oh no, then I need to look at your episodes, because that's totally something I would love to. You know, I would love to get into you know, more. But this is just to say that even though, you know, I had my first act, which I consider going to college for something I thought I would be doing, you know, as my career, doing it, you know, a version of it, and then just deciding to start over in a completely different industry. But now, you know, paid leave and, you know, making sure that all working parents, if they want to work, they feel supported the way we would expect them, you know, in Europe, in Canada. You know, it is a political issue, right? That's the reason, that's one of the big reasons we don't have it. So that's how I see my passion sort of for local politics, going through, you know, trying to create designs that empower moms who go back to the office but want to, you know, express milk for their kids, or just, you know, breastfeed on the go. I can see how that, you know, then sort of brought me into, you know, paid leave and the whole controversy around it. So who knows? I don't know. I'm not there yet. But maybe.
You will be huge supporters.
Yeah, we'll be absolutely huge supporters, and we have stories that go with it that will fuel the fire.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of fueling the fire, so I'm actually really excited also because of this notion of second act among so many women, and you alluded to this thing that this may not be my only act. There's other stuff. And what's interesting about growing up, at least in the US, or perhaps in other countries, is that somehow we define our identity. Like, I have found that box, now I'm going to fit in it, and do I need to stay in that box for the rest of my career?
Mm-hmm.
And what's true for me, I believe I'm hearing this for you, is I'm multifaceted. I like politics. I like to talk to people. I would like to take a platform and make change for people. And so, having said that, could you share a little bit about what drives you when you hear the term second act? You had started to tell us a little bit about a song earlier.
Yes. So, you know, and this might, let me just preface it by saying that, you know, we don't really listen to Miley Cyrus. You know, I love her music, but that's not a request that my sons, you know, request in our home. They ask for Shawn Mendes, even, you know, AC/DC, and Canto has been on repeat recently. But not, I never really get to listen and like truly listen to Miley Cyrus songs. I mean, I knew she exists. I know she exists, and she creates music. But not until yesterday, I was in the car driving to pick up my older son from school, and my older son was sitting in the back of the car playing on my phone. So I was listening to the radio, and Miley Cyrus song titled "The Climb" came on, and so I was quiet in the car. I was like really listening to the lyrics, and the lyrics were really powerful and really spoke to me, maybe because I feel like I'm still on my journey, and I am now, I'm 37. So I'm truly, now learning that life is about the journey and not really about your end result, whatever that might be. Because a lot of times for a lot of people, the end result changes along the way, whether it's they change themselves or life has different plans for them. And as I was listening to the song, this pop song that I would typically not ask Alexa to play felt so powerful to me, talking about how it doesn't matter when you get there, even if you go slow, it is about the climb, and it is about the journey. So that's kind of where I am right now. As I mentioned, I think when I started the brand 2.5 years ago, I maybe thought that, I'm doing it and that's going to be the end result. But I no longer feel this way. I think that it's definitely, I want to continue to work on the brand. I mean, the response from our customers has been wonderful and keeps me going every day. But I'm also passionate about other things like politics and empowering women and supporting women in workplaces, new moms, new parents, right? And non-traditional families. Like, we all deserve to be here. And I found myself very passionate about it through my own experience, because I feel like, I would say, 85% of parenting duties fall on me. I still want to lean into the workforce, but how can I do it truly and 100% if I literally have a second job that is raising my kids and doing everything that comes with maintaining a home and making sure that my kids have everything for, their book fairs, their projects, all of that. I feel like there's so little support, to parents. And I found myself very passionate about that, trying to drive change, in my own family and my own communities, and supporting, senators that are working to change that for working parents.
Yeah, it sounds like you fit the bill so perfectly with our season of intentional living. It's really looking at all aspects of life and figuring out what's best for you and your family. And if that's not intention, I don't know what is. And it's a great segue to our next question, which is, keeping in mind our season of intentional living, what would you say your why is? What drives you to make the choices you've made to become a mompreneur? You kind of answered it, but maybe a little deeper.
Yeah, sure. I would say, definitely my family, my boys, but also how difficult it is to be a working parent, in this country, especially when there are families like ours who don't have, a village around to support us. So I think that has always been my family. Like, I've wanted to be there for my kids in those early years. I felt very privileged to be able to do that. However, now with the pandemic and with all these, expectations that were placed mostly on parents who stay at home or work from home, I no longer consider it a privilege, because a privilege is you get to choose, right? Doesn't matter if you work, doesn't matter if you are a stay-at-home mom. Your privilege is like you get to choose, right? You still feel like good about your kids being taken care of if if you choose your career or if you stay at home, or somewhere in the middle, right? There's so many women having freelance jobs and working on, part-time projects. I think the key here is the privilege, right? That's what empowered me. I chose this. I wanted this. About 2.5 years ago, and when the pandemic happened, I no longer felt like I had a choice. I had to be home because my kids were home, right? So this is what I also felt like the government in our country really just put too much on the moms in terms of expectations. So to kind of circle back to intentional living, I think that I try to be intentional, but I also think that intentional living and my why, like I try to always remember what my why was, but I think that it doesn't happen in a vacuum. There's so many like outside forces such as the pandemic and the kind of country that you live in that impact that decision. I think it's just hard to say that I've been like super intentional about all of my choices in the last couple of years, when I was kind of just like forced to do a lot of things or not to do them. But yes, I think that, I try to. Most of the time I do try.
And that's the interesting thing about life, is that there will be variables that change the direction of what your original intention was. But if the intention is there, if it's pure, then your desire was that I have a choice and I can mold my lifestyle to accommodate my choices. But given that, and I remember when I spoke to you earlier, a little earlier last year,
Yes.
that even during the pandemic, you made intentional choices to bring more calm to yourself. Like you would
Yes.
go out for that run, or you would light the candle. And that
Mm-hmm.
is all part of your intention.
Yes.
Which really brings me to my third part of this question. What types of modalities have you integrated in your life, such as yoga, mindfulness, and how does it support you?
I think of this often because my lifestyle and my family life changed and evolved a lot since my as I mentioned, my kids are older now. It's very different. I remember, Tanya, I remember when my Julian was so little, I would do podcasts. I would have him in a carrier because he just wanted to and I would do pretty much 80% of my day with him in a carrier. It's different now. I have most days, a lot, like about a half a day is what I call my time, right? As moms, I felt oftentimes that my time, my life wasn't mine anymore. Even when I'm here, it's always my kids are here. It's homework, play with me, look at my battle, help me with the Lego, and then it's other things, other needs, cooking and feeding snacks and bath time and read me this story. No, I don't want milk. I want, it's my time. I'm here, hours go by, but I'm serving someone else, right? So I really am grateful that, we've gotten to the point where I have a few hours, in a day where I can be very conscious about, what I do and how I spend my time. So I'm still trying to figure out what brings me joy, what I truly like doing. Because I kind of forgotten, along the way, being a mom for, 8 years, I didn't get to do a lot of things for a long time, but I really enjoy listening to podcasts. I listen to different ones, but I am drawn to crime podcasts, and I typically just listen in the morning after I drop off the kids, and I kind of look at my calendar, plan out my morning. I listen in the morning because I can't listen at night because then I'm too scared. But meditation, either every morning, depending, how much time I have in the morning before the kids wake up, or, always in the evening, 10 minutes. And it helps a lot. As far as, other, rituals, I really enjoy, I don't want to say working out. Like, I like hiking. I like being out in the nature. I've found that doing I've started going to the studio, the bar method, which is sort of like a ballet, low impact, high intensity. I like that a lot. So I try to to do that at least 2 or 3 times a week. And it's great. But that's about it, for now. I know that meeting other moms and women in real life is something that I love. I mean, I'm that mom, like chatting to everyone in a pickup line. We actually, for my son's school, we stand in line and then we grab them and we walk out to the car. But I love birthday parties and meeting other moms. I really crave that energy of being part of a group, and just really, yeah, we all have different homes, different lifestyles, but we have so much in common. So I love that a lot. I love having friends over, we moved into a bigger space so I can have some friends over. We have a small, circle of people, but also having people in my home brings me so much joy. Like, that's the only time I don't mind cleaning and purging and organizing. Yeah, so I try to do these things, as often as I can. But as being a mom, there isn't a whole lot of time to also do that.
Yeah, and it sounds like you really appreciate the social connection, aside from the modalities where you sit using your calm meditation app or lighting a candle, just connecting with other humans. I mean, that's for sure. Even Tanya and I talked about having a tribe and having other moms that can relate to you. It's a huge component of, I think, just helping us heal.
Yeah.
And feel normal, right? There's such a, like Shilpa said, healing aspect to it when you're heard, and then not only are you heard, but people truly understand what you're going through, because as you're talking about your sons fighting about this, that, or the other, and you having to take care of the multitude of things that we have to take care of as moms, it's totally not the same as men. I'm sorry all dads out there, but it's not the same. And so just hearing it is like it's like a source of healing, because it's like, somebody who understands.
Absolutely. And for the longest time, and I know I've struggled with sort of anger and the frustration, management from the beginning. I felt so ashamed that I had these feelings. I mean, I had these beautiful kids. They were healthy. They were, that's everything I wanted. And yet I was just so tired, and little things would frustrate me. And, the sweet potatoes smashed for the millionth time on the floor, I felt a sense of shame around that, not that anyone has ever really said anything to me, but I also knew, like, that's not the mom that I wanted to be, and that's not the human being that I think I am. And that there were things in my life that I wasn't ready, I didn't know how to deal with in a healthy way. And I'm still working on it. I think I've gotten better, but I think that there's still a lot of work, that or maybe it's just going to be for the rest. It's, it's going to be like a continuous sort of work, practice, to control, my emotions before I actually attempt to help my children with controlling their emotions.
And I think we're in this generation of mindfulness that is sort of actively helping mothers understand motherhood, understand, because I can tell you for certain, I was working for so many years that becoming a mother was actually the hardest part. Like, oh, like there's this being that wants me, and 3 weeks into it, or maybe 3 months later, I had to go to work.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's Magda's next work, third act, helping people in the US not have to go to work so quickly, because that is just mind blowing to me.
Yeah, we will definitely be back for that topic, because that's a big one.
It's a big one. Yeah. And Magda, I know you kind of touched on this last question that we want to ask you, and it's giving us a little bit of insights for our listeners on how to live with intention. I think you kind of touched on it pretty much a lot throughout the podcast, but if you could think of one more thing as an insight.
Well, I think that, when you become a mom, and I know every family is different, partners maybe are less or more involved. So it's not a, one size fits all, advice. But I think that, realizing that you can't get it all done, at the same time, and sort of giving yourself grace and space to say, like, here's the one thing that I'd like to accomplish today. Okay, well, if it's, maybe 3 things I'd like to accomplish today, and then everything else is, a maybe. And for me, that often means, for example, Mondays. I love Mondays because I get to actually like unwind from a busy weekend, with my kids being here. And I often spend the first couple of hours in the morning, like cleaning my bathroom, listening to a podcast. I don't jump on my laptop and start working, because I'm not sure if I would have the right attitude, and the right mindset. So I think just finding these like little rituals that like work for you. And one of the things that I do, which I know a lot of parents also struggle with, is not only, being a parent and having kids, which come with a lot of toys, and they like to leave their toys all over, everywhere. And it's especially in the living room. One of the things I like to do, because, also we have to be realistic. It is not possible to have a clean house every day, all day, right? I mean, for me, like hardly ever any day the whole house is clean. I kind of like clean one bathroom, then by the time I get to the third one, that one needs to be clean, so it just like never happens. So letting go of that like perfectionist, approach I had, that, before I had kids, I used to Friday afternoon was for cleaning, like 2 hours. I clean the whole house. I put my legs up, a glass of wine and watch. Like that no longer happens. So letting go of that, like first I had to realize, gives me anxiety to be in a messy house. It is not realistic to have a clean house all the time with the kids. What can I do, right? Cleaning lady is not in our, budget right now. What can I do? So the guest bathroom is always, except not right now. So yeah, you see, I just remember my son peed all over the floor, so it's not clean right now, but it will be. But I ask my kids to leave this kind of area here. There's a fireplace, TV, couch, and the coffee table, to leave it clean of their toys. They can have, messy room on their beds, I don't care as much every day, but sort of leave one area of the house when like someone can just like look at it, me, and feel calm about it. So I think, to answer your question, I think it's, it's very individual and unique to every person, right? But finding what these little things are and letting go of perfection, giving yourself grace, I feel like it always works, to help us feel like we're a little bit of, in control, enough to not give us anxiety.
Magda, just when you shared though that when I was single I would clean and then now the new norm, as soon as you said not all of a part of the home can be clean, I was like, really? Okay, because most of the week I would like clean like crazy on a Saturday, and every week this has been going on for years. I think I'm never catching up. Like I'll get two bathrooms in one part of the house, and I'll clean all Saturday. It happens once in a while where I clean every room, every floor, and what happens the next day? I'm like cranky.
Yes. And I grew up in a home where when we were little, Saturday mornings were for cleaning the house. And it would be like 4 hours, so until like 2 p.m. in the afternoon on Saturday. And I hated it because I felt like, I really wanted to do something fun with my family. So I never want to do it. Like, that's something I don't want to do it. Now, does it mean like I want to live, in a messy house? No, I don't. But I also think that, having that time with my kids is more precious than cleaning on a Saturday morning, so that I'm not even sure what, like what's the purpose exactly.
And that goes back to the why, because truth be known, I clean almost every Saturday morning, but almost every time I kick myself going, now I'm too tired to be present.
Now you've worked, right? You worked so hard. You kind of want to just like, sit back and enjoy a cup of coffee, but it's not really what you get to do with kids most of the time.
Yeah, it's amazing insights. I mean, just hearing that it's okay and that you're not the only one who goes through that struggle, because any mom listening to this will understand that, oh my gosh, I so can relate. Sorry about the noise, guys. So can relate about this cleaning the whole house and then having it mess up the next 5 minutes after. So yeah, it's great insight.
Yeah.
Just be aware.
And that's when I appreciate social media. And I know social media, can be, both for good and bad. But I think that there's definitely, a trend towards showing, the more authentic, more real sort of side of life and motherhood. And as much as I don't like making the reels, I think that seeing people, showing up authentically, often, just how they are and how they express themselves, it's very refreshing than just like scrolling through someone's like, carefully curated feed and thinking like, wait, hold on, like that's spray tan. I just had a spray tan, but mine doesn't even look like this, and there's, I always had a problem with that. We always had to do it because, we all know as business owners, you kind of have to be out on the social media. But I feel like, there's also good coming out of it. And I've seen so many moms like showing their messy houses, showing what their, kitchens in the morning look like. And I'm like, girl, you and I can be friends, because that's my kitchen right there. And I think that, similar to what we were saying earlier, sharing our realities and showing that, not every day our kitchen is clean and the dishes are put away and the water bottles are cleaned, brings us closer together and makes us feel like, yeah, we might someone can maybe they live in an apartment, maybe they live in a big house, maybe they're in Florida, maybe they're in New York, but there are experiences that are, uniting to all of us, whether you have a big sink or, you can hide more dishes or a small sink. Yeah. So I find that refreshing.
Absolutely. I find it refreshing as well, because as you are on this journey, we had talked about in the very beginning, this journey has its reality based in it, and having other camaraderie of women
yes.
through it. in all aspects, whether it's health insurance or time with your children or having enough time to spend with your spouse. And then
Yes.
going back to the day-to-day reality, like it's nice to know that not everybody's home is pristine, and it just, especially during the pandemic where everybody's there all the time.
At home, yes. Yes, yes. No, I absolutely agree.
Yeah, and nowadays the culture is more craving that authenticity. So
yes.
we're lucky.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Hi, Cameron. Hi.
Thank
Hi.
you so
Oh,
much,
look
Magda.
at you, got that smile. Hi.
Or why? That is why Tanya is making this second act.
Yes, exactly. One of these faces. Magda, thank you so much for joining us. It was such a pleasure. You brought so many beautiful insights.
Thank you. It was I mean, I talked to Shilpa and I met Shilpa before, but it was so lovely to meet you, Tanya. That would be nice that when I see your name in the email, I can, put the two together. Yeah.
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you, Magda. We'll connect again soon.
Yes, absolutely. Let me know, if how I can, help with promoting the episode when it comes out. And yeah, we'll go from there.
Absolutely.
Stay warm, Tanya. We'll be here in our 60s.
Thanks again for tuning in. Check out the links in the description and please subscribe, follow, and share. And continue to be omnipresent.